Magandang umaga, Pilipinas! Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are joining around the world. Welcome to today's webinar where we will discuss how to solve challenges in gender and youth inclusion in agriculture and rural development processes, or ARD. We are streaming to you live through the SEARCA online learning and virtual engagements, or SOLVE platform, via Zoom and Facebook Live. My name is Jean Labios, and I am a program specialist of the Training for Development Unit under the Education and Collective Learning Department of SEARCA, and I will be your moderator this morning. The short video shown earlier has given you a glimpse about SEARCA and what we do. SEARCA is hosted by the Philippine government in the campus of the University of the Philippines, Los Baños. So we are coming to you live from Los Baños, Laguna, the special science and nature city of the Philippines. This SOLVE webinar series is SEARCA's immediate response to the emerging impacts of the COVID-19 global pandemic on food security by maximizing the use of information and communication technology platforms to inform, educate, and share evidence-based solutions and testing technologies as well as best practices on the ground. If you are new to this webinar, this is actually the 42nd webinar since it was launched a little over 2 years ago on April 28, 2020. We are excited to be joined by two experts this morning who will share their experience, expertise, and insights on the importance of social inclusion, particularly the youth, in Agriculture 4.0. SEARCA's 11th five-year plan, which was launched in July 2020, identifies gender and youth involvement in agriculture and rural development processes as one of the priority areas that would accelerate transformation through agricultural innovation. Before we proceed to our online conversation this morning, please allow me to go over some statistics gathered from the SOLVE webinar held on May 4, 2022. The infograph shows that 71% of our online viewers were female and the rest were male. It also indicates that more than 40 individuals tuned in via Zoom and more than 80 individuals viewed the webinar through SEARCA's Facebook page. Lastly, we are happy to note that we've had online attendees not only from the Philippines, but also from Thailand, Vietnam, and the United States. Let me now go over the program flow, which is currently shown on your screen. After my introduction and a few housekeeping rules, we will have our first speaker, Buddhist nun Dr. Khin Cho, currently the country representative for Myanmar, as well as International Professor for Sustainable Agriculture and Global Food Systems and International Agriculture, Food System, and Nutrition Specialist at Cornell University in New York City in the United States. She will open our discussion this morning by sharing with us the transformational role that the youth can harness in contributing to a sustainable food system. So Dr. Khin is joining us live from New York City at 10 in the evening right now on her side of the globe. Our second speaker is Dr. Jaime A. Manalo IV, Head of the Socio-Economics Division of the Philippine Rice Research Institute, or PhilRice. He also leads their Policy Research and Advocacy program. Dr. Manalo will provide us an example of what the youth can do by sharing the experience of PhilRice in engaging high school students as climate-smart agriculture infomediaries. The presentation is a part of PhilRice's Infomediary campaign in partnership with the Philippines Department of Education and the Consultative Group on International Agricultural Research Program on Climate Change, Agriculture, and Food Security. Dr. Manalo will close in on some challenges in terms of the reach of youth in agriculture initiatives in the Philippine context. So I know you are excited to listen to our speakers, but allow me to just go over some instructions on how you can send us your questions about the presentation. So how do you do this? For those of you who are tuned in via SEARCA's Facebook page, you may type your questions in the comments section. Kindly indicate your location now and/or country of origin. If you're tuned in via Zoom, please post your questions or comments in the Q&A box, which you would find in the menu bar on your screen. Kindly indicate your location and/or country of origin as well. Our SOLVE team will collate, curate, and compile those questions for me, and I will convey them to our speakers. So hopefully, we will be able to cover as many questions as we can in the time remaining. Please be clear when you are posing a question to a specific presenter or if it is a question that anybody can respond to. We will do our best to get as many questions as possible during the open forum. Kindly refrain from posting your email addresses in the comments section. You can provide this information to us upon responding to our evaluation form and e-certificate request. The link will be posted at the end of the webinar. Please note that this webinar will be recorded and will be made available on SEARCA's Facebook page and YouTube channel. Today's presentations will be uploaded on SEARCA's website at www.searca.org. The slides shown during the past webinars have already been posted there. For your social media posts, especially on insights or takeaways from this webinar, please use the hashtag SEARCASolve. If you have issues or are experiencing technical difficulties with the Zoom online platform, please contact us at solve@searca.org. Moving on to today's discussions, our first speaker this morning is Buddhist nun, Professor Dr. Khin Marcho. She currently serves as country representative for Myanmar, as well as International Professor for Sustainable Agriculture and Global Food Systems, and International Agriculture, Food Systems, and Nutrition Specialist at Cornell University in New York. Dr. Cho has over 25 years of experience in working on sustainable agriculture, extension, modernization, food systems, nutrition, and rural development with government agencies, universities, private sector, NGOs, and nonprofits globally. In 2010, she established the Dr. Khin Marcho Foundation, supporting over 1,500 children from village schools in Myanmar by providing scholarships and building libraries. In 2016, she was a U.S. Fulbright Scholar teaching extension modernization for agriculture and fisheries in the Philippines as visiting professor at Central Luzon State University. Dr. Cho holds a PhD in agricultural extension and agricultural economics, nutrition sciences, and postdoc in global food systems and nutrition from Justus Liebig Gießen University in Germany, and master and bachelor degrees in agronomy from the Yazin Agricultural University in Myanmar. At Cornell University, Dr. Cho accomplished 3 postdocs in nutrition education, which is on clinical nutrition and community nutrition, as well as community economic development through direct marketing and biofuels industry development and education. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Cho.
Good morning, everyone. And I think someone from the Western United States, so good evening. And Maganda Umaga. So I'm so glad to be today to share some of the information for, especially for the youth. How can we utilize the power of youth for our transformation of food systems? And so what percentage of the global population is youth? So we have almost 7.5 billion population around the world. How many youth? What percentage? How to make agriculture attractive to the youth? And how youth can be champions for food systems transformation, and youth leadership matters. So today I'm gonna have a discuss like 3 major points, how the relationship between food systems and dietary and nutritional environmental outcomes and the youth participation in nutrition-sensitive agriculture and food systems, and policies and incentive, how to promote nutrition-sensitive agriculture and food systems. When you look at the global population, between 1950 and 2016, 1.5% of annual population growth. So you can see that in more developed countries and 0.1. So you can see like in both sides. The less developed country has more than the more developed country. When you look at the population, there is no specific definition for the youth in terms of age limit. But according to the United Nations, we have adolescents. That means 10 to 14 years old, and 15 to 19. These are the another teenage group. Then 20 to 24. That means the university undergraduate students level, that kind of age. So all total 10 years to 25 years, that age or group, that called youth. So how can we really identify those youth, and how can include those youth in food systems? So when you look at the regional population in Africa, Asia, Latin America, and Caribbean, and North America, Europe, and Asia. So you can see 1.8 billion, 1.8 billion, that's really a lot. Young people in the world. So 90% of who live in developing countries, so they really make up a large portion of the population. Look at India and China, two countries alone, 235 million youth in India and on 225 million in China. So how can we really make that our youth generation to be involved in the food systems? That doesn't go to the next one. Oh, here, good. The United Nations Food Summit 2021, that was recently before last year, 2021, hosted the Global Youth Summit Dialogue. All the youth actions, they really present, and in the future, how can they promise, how can they be a part of the global? So all those things a year ago, all the young people, they have been playing a central role in global deliberations and actions towards equitable and just food systems. So that's really prepared for United Nations Food Systems Summit. At that summit, all the global youth propose commitments and actions toward a better future for our food systems. How do they commit it? Healthier and more sustainable food everywhere, including schools and universities and all the community settings. Stay away from processed food, reduce animal-based products, and focus on plant-based products. Healthy food production in the community gardens and school gardens, plastic usage reductions, and tree planting to contribute climate change, resilience, etc. And they can take actions in supporting local governments, local farmers and families in producing healthy, safe, and nutritious food. And they can talk about healthy food productions and consumption on social medias. Youth are very innovative, very good in using technologies, advertising healthy and sustainable foods, and actual food labeling, food safety, marketing, and distribution. And in terms of food waste management, youth really around the world, they contributed how to make it before making a grocery list, before shopping. Just cook food what we need, just buy what we eat, what we need. The food should not be wasted in the value chain. So these are at the global youth actions. All the youth around the world, they promised to do it, to take actions. Look at the climate crisis, environment degradation across the planet. Ever increasing populations are needing a lot of diverse diet. Many people in the rural areas migrated to the urban areas for the better life, better future. So how do we really in-depth with the relationship between food system, dietary, nutritional, and environmental outcomes? We need really a system approach because of the nature of food system, all the multiple drivers and outcomes and stakeholders, they are interconnected. That's why we really need a system approach. The nutrition specialists are not only to provide information about diet, nutrition, and also to collaborate multi-sectors, how to improve in terms of nutrition perspective. For example, promote sustainable agricultural practices, reduce food loss and food waste, improve food processing or packaging, and conserve resource in food service settings and food environments. All those informations and knowledge and sharings and community settings, urban settings, all the nutrition specialists are very good in position to collaborate with multi-sectors. So that's why all the many experts in undernutrition, many people, many countries, they have a lot of issues with chronic diseases, micronutrient deficiencies. Those kinds of things are not only one single department. We always used to say one health approach. Multi-sectors, multi-organizations need to be collaborate and to solve these issues and challenges. So in terms of climate, in addition to affecting the quantity of food, the rising atmospheric carbon dioxide, and also this diminished the quality of food. For example, like a stable crop, rice and wheat, and they have a decreased protein, iron, and zinc content when they were grown under high carbon dioxide conditions. I will show you later how specifically. So even the country like in Asia, in Philippines or Myanmar, the micronutrient contents are people that disproportionately affect populations of low socioeconomic status. Their diets are relying predominantly on stable food. These are less nutrient, like wheat, rice, noodle, bread. So they are really macronutrient deficient because they don't eat enough micronutrients, fruits and vegetables. So when combined with rising food prices, particularly for nutrient-dense food that are already out of reach, so those kinds of people are really macronutrient deficiency among more vulnerable populations. So for example, like in aflatoxins, that is the climate has been really increasing high temperature for the crop like maize or peanuts in tropical regions. The people who consume this maize and peanut, they are associated with those increased risks of mobility and mortality and poor pregnancy outcomes and child growth. We are in the middle of catastrophic climate breakdown. So when you look at the graph in the Earth systems trend, everything is an increasing trend: carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide, methane, and surface temperature, ocean acidification, marine fish capture, shrimp aquaculture, and etc. So these are all increasing. And look at the socioeconomic trends, and always increasing demanding population, always increasing urban population, primary energy use, fertilizer consumptions, and so on. So increasing all the trends. So nutritional quality of crops are altered by carbon dioxide fertilization effect. You can see in this graph, 20% declines in protein and 40% decline in iron and 50% decline in zinc. That's really a lot. So when the climate change led to a net adverse impact on the crop yields, when the temperature is getting warmer and warmer, it impacts on the not only crop, the yield, also the nutritional quality of the crop. The food systems are very complex. There are so many drivers, there are a lot of components of the food system, so many, the supply chain components, food environments, and individual factors. Although the ultimate outcomes, food security for the population and diet, quantity and quality, safety, nutritious food for every single household to have this access to every daily lifestyle. And ultimate goals, environmental effect, nutrition, health, economy, and social equity and inclusion. These are all the final outcomes. And even though these are really sustainable, looking forward to sustainability and resilience and sustainable development goals, and going up to the policy options and enabling environment. So that's why the food systems are so complex, involved in many drivers and components. When we look at the food system, how contribute to greenhouse gas emission, you can see clearly 32% of food emissions from the land utilization, land use, and 39% of food emission from agricultural productions, and the other percent from the other end of life, the food waste, and also the supply chain, 80%. So the remaining 11% from post-retail and 18% from supply chain. So food systems generate 21 to 37% of total greenhouse gas emission. That's really a lot. So agriculture use 70% of all freshwater use resource. And 1 million animal and plant species are now threatened with extinctions. And 60% of marine fish stocks are maximally sustainably fished. So that's how food system contribute to greenhouse gas emission for 34% food and 66% to the non-food. When you look at the retail, you can see all the consumer stage. There's a 2.5% of food emission from the consumer at the restaurants, the people, they don't eat and just left, throw away all the food. And also another 4% of the food emission at the retail, supermarket or grocery stores and something. And in the food supply chain, the packaging, 5.5% of food emission and 4.8% of food emission at the transportation. And the transportation using by road, by shipping, railway, area, aviation, all these concluded. And food processing, 3.5% of food emission at the food processing. So that's summing up for 18% from supply chain and 11% emission for retail space. So this is the environmental stress of food production, how continue in order to meet dietary demands. So all the 7.5 global populations are needing a lot of dietary foods. When you look at the 2010 or 2050 comparison for greenhouse gas emission by animal products, look at the red color. So animal product using greenhouse gas emission huge. When you look at the blue color, that's the stable food production. So that is the red color and blue colors are the highest contribution. So compared to other fruits and vegetables, legumes, nuts, and seeds. So the environmental impacts of the food system, you can see clearly in this graph. All the greenhouse gas emission to the orange and dark orange color, that is animal-based, beef and lamb production, pork and poultry, and milk. And when you look at the blue color, that's for the grains and production. So freshwater use, who's using the most fresh water? Or the grains or the crops. So who using the nitrogen application? The blue color. And phosphorus application, the blue color. So you can see these stable crop using a lot of water, and also the animal product use a lot of land and greenhouse gas emissions. So when you look at the planetary boundaries, how food system impact, this is very similar trend like the previous one. The greenhouse gas emission, real impact on the animal-based beef production, lamb production, pork and poultry, and compared to the other food productions. So the multiple burdens of malnutrition and food security are massive and universal. 720 to 811 million, that is 10% of the global population, are undernourished. 2.2 billion adults are overweight and obese. At the meantime, 3 billion people cannot afford a healthy diet. So when you look at the World Bank Global Income Group 3 categories, you can see 4 categories: low income group, low middle income, upper middle income, and high income. In each group, how impact on the nutrition deficiency is 149 million children under 5 years are standard. 45 million children are wasting, 39 million are overweight. So that's always not even double burden, now it's a multiple burdens we are facing with. So during the COVID-19 impact, how nutrition impact, 9.3 million children wasted, 2.6 million children are stunted, 168,000 children dead, 2.1 million women suffering from iron deficiency anemia, anemic. So this is really a huge figure. So when you look at that, why happen these nutrient deficiencies and those related to chronic diseases and the death, why they are dying, the cause of death underlying for nutrient deficiencies and diseases. There are top 10 risk factors for death, and globally in 2017, you can see the dietary risk at the highest, and high blood pressure followed by tobacco, blood sugar, air pollution, body mass index, and so on. When you look at on the right side, the number of death at the global level attributed to diet is diet high in sodium, diet low in whole grains, diet low in fruits, diet low in nuts and seeds and vegetables, low in seafood, omega-3 fatty acids, low in fiber, diet low in polyunsaturated fatty acid, and so on. So that means the cause of death, underlying cause for these suffering diseases are because not eating properly, not having healthy diet. When we look at the ASEAN 11 countries, you can see this is the latest statistical data from the WHO and the monitoring health for SDG. You can see all those 11 countries, the maternal mortality ratio and under 5 children's mortality rate, and also the probability of dying from any communicable diseases, cancers, diabetes, and between age 30 and 70%. And the other one, look at the prevalence of stunted children under 5, and also wasting children under 5, and overweight the children under 5. So you can see which country is really high and which country is really low. According to our audience, Please look at the Philippines and Myanmar. So we have a huge figure in terms of maternal mortality. In Myanmar has a really huge figure, infant mortality, and also the other. So nutrition sensitive food systems. When we are talking about the youth, the power of youth, how can we utilize our youth power, our youth innovative, creative, all the ability and affordability to our food system transformation? So everybody eats something every day. So that's why the nutrition sensitive food system is vital. And also this kind of like a knowledge should be aware by every individual, every household, any individual family. So the nutrition sensitive approach, not only for policy related to macro level availability and access to nutritious food, and also focus on household and individual level determinants of improved nutrition. So when you look at the food systems and in the environment for nutrition, you can see this. This is the conceptual framework of food system and the environment, how environmental inputs such as these, soil quality, arable land, water quality, weather, seasonality, temperature, ocean acidification, and so. And when you look at the food system, we have a supply side, food supply, food environment, and consumer behavior. In the conceptual framework, the outcomes is the proximate outcome, food safety and exposure and diet, food loss and food waste. And in the distant outcome, you can see nutrition and health, malnutrition, chronic disease, foodborne illnesses. In the environment outcome, you can see greenhouse gas emission, air pollution, depletion, natural resources, deforestation, and rising temperatures, rising sea levels. All those conceptual framework, how food systems and the environment impact on the nutrition. It's really include the proximate outcomes of food system, this increase or maximum exposure to contaminants, the diet quality and food loss and food waste. So each of these proximate outcomes affect both human and environmental health outcomes. And there's a three data conceptual pathways between agriculture and nutrition. So there's three, like a national economic growth and national nutrition profile. So when we are looking at this pathway, you can see food production pathway, agricultural income pathway, and women's empowerment pathway. So each pathways are related each other, going through all those production, processing, consumption, and finally waste management. The ultimate goals going to child nutrition outcomes, mother's nutrition outcomes, and everybody get access to healthy diet, quality food. So we need sustainable production and sustainable consumption. So the key stakeholders to make food systems sustainable, from those involved in producing all the way through waste management. And the other is the game changer for food systems, water. No water, no food. If we are losing food, if we are losing water, so water loss and water waste, this is really reducing food loss and waste, a clear entry point to mitigate water scarcity and optimize water use. Food producers are water managers. So when we look at the nutrient-rich small fish productions, these are healthy options for consumer, especially those who are vulnerable and need, as young children, pregnant women, lactating mother who has a limited incomes to get a protein source. So reducing waste, you can look at the global food waste. 931 million tons of foods are wasted. That means really 61% from household, 26% from food service, and 30% from retail, according to UNEP 2021. So that's really amazing. Food loss and waste, a significant negative impact on impacts, accounting for 10% of global greenhouse gas emission, and also wasteful use, a quarter of the world's freshwater resource. So 1/3 of what foods we have been thrown away. So here's a good example. Some of these our university doing in the women's and youth involve how to involve in food systems. The youth. So as I mentioned before, undergraduate student or senior high school student, they can involve in fresh produce distribution. Their parents are growing or someone's growing from the farmers, bring to the consumers, like in making connection to the local food, regionally grown food, healthy food, access to the community where they are in need. And at the meantime, other youth, they can involve in food and nutrition education. This is the power of youth. How can we utilize the in the food systems? And also the faith-based organization. All the youth provide using laptops and computer, training the people how to make a connection to the local farmers, how to find A to Z locally grown fruits and vegetables for their organization, for their school, for their faith-based organization. Those the youth can be a powerful tools. Another like elementary school students, they can their own food systems, their own farmers market. So learning about agriculture food system for their school friends and also parents and teachers. And also in the local farmers market, there are a lot of farmers market in Manila. And also that we get a lot of information. How can we utilize youth? You can set up a table, provide nutrition education, provide what is greenhouse organic agriculture, what is GAB agriculture, what about the fruits, what about the vegetables, what about the beans? So you can be a part of the food system education. And another one is school food programs. How can youth involve in school food program? Again, the youth can communicate to the farmers, youth can communicate to the school food directors, how to make a food distribution, food marketing using information technology, mobile phone, laptop, anything to make a healthy food access at the school environment, school cafeteria and school food courts. Another one is the faith-based in Philippines, also in Myanmar has a lot of faith-based, some state in Chin State or Kachin State. So all the faith-based organizations are also looking for food. So the youth, the undergraduate students or high school students, they can be as a group and making a connection, the local farmers and also the consumers in the community, how to make the healthy food market for the consumers. And another one is a woman, and they don't need to be educated. They don't need to be a degree or anything. Even just they don't need to read and write. Just using the mobile phone, making connection farmers, buying fruits and vegetables, distribute in the communities, and they can be involved in the transformation food systems. Here are some good examples in Bangladesh. All the Bangladeshi pineapple farmers using mobile phone communicate each other from local market, wholesale market, retail market, using mobile phone to make more money their product and provide them value-added pineapple jams and jellies and juice, making value-added product from their pineapple, increasing more income, helping them for their livelihoods better. And then again, in Ethiopia, all the organic farmer only 2 acres or 4 acres, but they have enough income to provide their children go to medical schools because the systematic production, making right connection through the mobile phone to the selling direct to the restaurants. So here is again the supply chain, value chain, and market system development. All the small scale farmers, local product, teach them, or the youth can involve how to provide the extension education to the local farmers to make more money to produce safety, quality, high value added products. And again, there's tea farmers and in the Rwanda. So providing the information technology using mobile phone, how to make access to the niche market to sell their product, milk, tea, etc. Here is the Philippines in Mindanao that was right before the pandemic. Nutrition sensitive agriculture and the food systems. How the youth, look at that, all the youth under 25 years or all the extension workers, they learn about how to integrate nutrition message in the agriculture message and going back to their communities and farming families and provide the education through cooking demonstration. The ingredients are from the farmers' gardens and from the farmers' farms. So putting lessons into practice and showing them right away the outcomes of dietary diversity and healthy food come from their own communities, farm garden, community garden, school garden. Here is one also in Karabu Center. So many staffs are youth under 25 years old. Give them a chance, give them knowledge, and also provide them all the accessible how to take actions into transforming food system. The power of youth. They have a lot of energy. They are so active. They are very innovative youth. Here is a good example in Burma, in Myanmar. All the students from Yezin Agricultural University, undergraduate students, They are 16 years, 17, 18 years old students. In the field practical, in the theory practical, get them nutrition message, integrate to agriculture message, nutrition sensitive agriculture to really contribute, and they can be a leader to the community sharing the message. Another one here is State Agricultural Institute students. They are only, again, 16, 17, 18 years old students, very young children. Teach them agriculture and nutrition message. They're going out to the community and also meeting with the community people and also deliver their own local ethnic language, how important is nutrition, eating healthy diet, dietary diversity in either single plate or single bowl, how to increase nutritional benefit. Here is another example. Faith-based organizations are good gatekeepers. Reaching them, hundreds and thousands of attendees come to the church. Give them education, how to keep healthy, how to eat healthy, how to prepare healthy. In terms of community gardens, school gardens, and farmer field school, this is a mountain area in Myanmar, Chin State. All the agriculture students going to the community, speaking their own language, educating farmers and women and men, all the farmers, how to eat healthy. So in the food system, we always talk about this is the whole value chain and supply chain, starting from the production, safety food production, how do we utilize good agricultural practices? For the aquaculture, good aquaculture practices, food safety, insecticide, pesticide, how to use systematically in terms of post-harvest waste loss management, in terms of value-added fishery product, and etc. So those things are also, youth can be a powerful tool to educate in the communities in those messages. Again, multi-sector, one health approach. Not only the one single department, agriculture or education, we always need Department of Health, all the nurses, healthcare workers, healthcare communities, nurses and doctors, and all those things are also need to be included in the food system transformation. So we give them all the agriculture information, nutrition information to the nurses. They are also youth because they are 60, 70, 80, 90, 20, 21 years old. So it is all relevant. So who will feed the world? So take a business unusual approach to achieve the Paris climate change targets. So if we are keep using business as usual, 1,356 billion tons of greenhouse gas emission, we will be still losing. So that's why we recommend, according to the United Nations Food Summit, food emission from 2020 to 21,000, if we achieve one of the following, this is high yields, half food waste go down to half, healthy choices, more plant-based diet, eating diverse with the limited incomes, and the best farm practices, plant-rich diet. So then we can achieve those goals. Again, these are all globally, people are trying, putting effort on how food system transformation. The Global Youth Summit has been very active, and also the youth promise a lot of things. And anti-plastic pollution that has been right 2 months ago in March 2, that has been in Kenya, and always all the leaders talking about how do we reduce plastic, the nature of climate, the nature of a human ecosystem, the nature of poverty eradication, jobs, economic prosperity, the nature of sustainable food systems. It's really alarming, every single one. Just close your eyes and look at in your office, look at your house. How many plastic are you still using? If you are still using a lot of plastic in your kitchen, in your office, you are not contributing to global warming, climate change, all those reductions. So please be mindful on that. So we have to always focus on the entire food system. That is the entry point, exit point for increasing net nutrition along the supply chain and our climate change. So we put it the component to component, starting from the input, supply, and production, post-harvest, processing, distribution, all the way to consumption and food utilization. What we need to be minimized, what we need to be maximized. So we need to provide all the research-based, evidence-based to help our policymakers inform them to make decisions. One of the good examples here, I will show the IRIS, the Arsenic Safe Rice Project. Asian people love to eat rice. So look at that, the Arsenic rice variety, that's really needed because people are eating rice every day. Another one is like a value added using solar freeze, portable solar power, cold storage. And the Wafish, one of the homestead aquaculture project, like a very poor man food, we call it, very cheap, small fish, high in nutrient, making value-added food product for affordable option for consumers who have limited income. So extension is always played a big role for those reaching out to our communities, a diverse community in the rural, urban, or suburban areas, how to increase their nutritional value or individual household members with limited resource. Always extensive education can integrate all the nutrition sensitive extension approach, all the agricultural information and nutrition information always being together in different community setting, faith-based, school, university, and all those community setting. Always remember one health approach. We can't put all the multi-sectors working together to achieve those goals. So that coming next month, soon, next week, it will be the food safety. Whenever we talk about the food nutrition, the safety stand always the best place. So all of the food should be safe, starting from the production and the storage, all the whole value chain and supply chain, our food should be safe. Everybody have a role to play in this as a policymakers, businessmen, education institution, workplaces, and consumers. Everybody can play a part. And here is the key elements. Third, nowhere is more true than in the food system must deliver nutrition while protecting biodiversity. So household food access, quantity, quality, and diversity of food, individual household member. The food system must utilize and protect natural resources, and the food system must ensure both human and planetary health, and the nature can no longer suffer from how we produce, how we consume, and how we waste the food no longer suffer. If we significantly reduce food waste, improve farming practices and technologies, and shift our diets, it is possible to keep the food system within planetary boundaries. Having food loss and waste could reduce the sector's environmental impact by up to a sixth. And particular important is dietary change. Greenhouse gas emission from food production could be cut by more than half if mainly plant-based diet. So with modest meat consumption, so you can eat meat, but moderation, and were adopted globally, and make investment in and promote the development of technologies that address the needs of low-income and vulnerable groups, including women, and promote adoption and dissemination of such technologies, engaging our youth in food systems to improve nutrition outcomes. So designing for youth inclusion in agriculture and food system, because there is a strategic imperative for investing in youth. Young people are crucial to globally economic growth and development today and the future. They are very innovative. They have a lot of energy. They have their own solutions. Put the young people in the center and engage in agribusiness and agricultural production. Have them become business leaders and agri-entrepreneurs. So nutrition-sensitive food systems really agriculture influence nutrition through the multi-sectoral pathways. So 3, agriculture, growth, economic development, and nutrition outcomes. So these 3 pathways really nutrition message and agriculture message working together, integrating together to transform a food system. A critical challenge is to identify and implement food and nutrition policies that are appropriate to particular stage or structural transformation in the country of concern. So what happened? So, and that's all my presentation, and the others are just for information and knowledge about more nutrition specific. And the SEARCA will publish and everybody can access to the whole publications. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Cho, for your presentation, for detailing us the complexity of the food system. So I note especially today's emerging environmental issues, which you touched on, and this affects heavily on the dietary and nutritional outcomes today. So thank you as well for sharing with us some samples on how the youth today can participate in the entire value chain of the food system and thus ultimately transforming it and making it sustainable. As a member of the youth myself, I am inspired by your emphasis on youth inclusion, especially in agriculture production and agribusiness, something that we here at SEARCA are also promoting. Again, may I remind our online attendees watching the webinar via Facebook Live, please start typing your questions in the comments section, including your location or country of origin. If you are tuned in via Zoom, please post your questions in the Q&A box, which you will find in the menu bar on your screen. So while waiting for the next presentation to be shared, please allow me to tell you more about our second speaker this morning. We will dive right into an example on what the youth can do when they are given an avenue to pitch in agriculture and the food system. So earlier, Dr. Cho touched on the climate crisis and its effect on diet and nutrition perspectives. So we have next Dr. Jaime A. Manalo IV, head of the Socioeconomics Division and lead of the Policy, Research, and Advocacy Program of the Philippine Rice Research Institute, or PhilRice. Dr. Manalo conceptualized and led the implementation of the Infomediary campaign of PhilRice, which is a youth engagement in agriculture initiative. The campaign was participated in by more than 200 high schools nationwide in partnership with the Department of Education. The experiences from the campaign was presented during the plenary session of the Committee on World Food Security at the UN FAO headquarters in 2015. Dr. Manalo has published in the areas of development communication, agricultural extension, community development, information and communications technology for development, and climate change communication and adaptation. He is the lead author of more than 20 publications, mostly in ISI and Scopus Index journals, and he has written 3 books with more than 3,000 downloads. Dr. Manalo obtained his master's degree, Communication for Social Change, and PhD from the University of Queensland in Australia. During his PhD at UQ, he was offered a place in the University of Queensland's Global Change Scholars Program, a highly selective program of UQ for 30 high-achieving PhD students. Likewise, he was also offered a place in the Global Research Program for Excellence at the Chinese University of Hong Kong as a visiting PhD student. Let us all welcome Dr. Manalo.
Yes. Thanks very much, Jean, for that introduction. So I'm very happy to talk about our work on the Infomediary campaign. My presentation is titled Youth as Climate Smart Agriculture Intermediaries, the PhilRice of Infomediary campaign. Oops, sorry, hang on a minute. Let me share it again. All right, so briefly, let me talk to you about, let me walk you through the theoretical anchor of the campaign. So when we say the infomediary, it's actually a combination of 2 words, that's information and mediation. This one symbolizes the efforts of the campaign to bridge information poverty. So the campaign has bias in operating in remote rice farming communities, those areas that are not oftentimes reached by the traditional agricultural extension system in the country. And the use of the blackboard and chalk, they symbolize the use of the school as the nucleus of agricultural extension. So if you've not been to the Philippines yet, the Philippines is the world's 2nd largest archipelago, second to Indonesia. So there are communities that are quite difficult to reach. So the logic of the campaign is, while it's very difficult for some agricultural extension workers to be visiting the houses of farmers who are located in remote areas, their children converge in schools. So the logic is to use the school as the nucleus of agricultural extension. The whole campaign is anchored on community youth and development theory. What the theory says basically is to treat the youth as an asset. They should be treated as partner in developing their community. That is, if their community develops, they too develop. So the campaign was participated in by more than 200 high schools nationwide. We have sites practically nationwide, except in Metro Manila and in ARMM. And our partners were the Department of Education, the CGR Research Program on Climate Change, Agriculture, and Food Security, and the DA regional field offices in regions 3 and 12. The campaign has three main objectives. The first is to create alternative communication pathways for delivering climate-smart rice agriculture technologies and practices. The second is to promote agriculture as a viable career option. And the third is to bring back the love for science of rice farming among young people. These are our key campaign strategies. The first is the read component. We provide reading materials on rice in Infomediary campaign participating schools. We still have to bank on the read component. You might wonder, hey, it's the 21st century, the internet is here, but there are still communities in the Philippines that have no electricity. So in that area, ICTs won't work. So we just have to rely on the read component, providing physical copies of the reading materials for the students. The serve component, we introduced the students to the Pinoy Rice Knowledge Bank, which is a website that contains massive information on rice production in the Philippines, developed by the then Open Academy for Philippine Agriculture. And of course, the text component, where we introduced the students to the PhilRice Text Center, which is an SMS platform that responds to all queries on rice developed by the Open Academy for Philippine Agriculture. So the key campaign strategies. First, of course, we trained the teachers in collaboration with the Philippines Department of Education. So they all came here in Nueva Ecija, the headquarters of the Philippine Rice Research Institute. So they were trained on climate smart agriculture. And of course, all participating schools were encouraged to set up their own rice garden. The idea behind this is that young people must experience how to plant rice. You know, they need to appreciate it. They should not just see it in textbooks, but they should feel, they should be in it. They should be in it, so to speak. And since I'm a development communicator and many of us in the team are development communicators, so we banked on a number of edutainment mechanisms, that's education and entertainment, to gauge the learning of the students on the concepts on rice production that we are conveying to them. So this one is Infomediary Quiz Bee conducted in our site in Aurora, in an upland community in Aurora province. This one is called the face-off round. Basically, the students, it kind of simulates the situation in the household where the farmer asks a question to the student and the student responds. What the photo basically shows is the father, the one wearing black shirt, is asking a question to the student. For example, what is that rice variety that could be planted in Ilocos Norte, which is a province in the Philippines? The student does not have to know the answer outright, but a student may use the Pinoy Rice Knowledge Bank to search for information on how to properly respond to the question. So that's a face-off round. And of course, this is a Farmers Field Day. Traditionally, the Farmers Field Day is being conducted by partners, and we have agricultural extension workers to talk about the different practices that were employed in all throughout the duration of the cropping season. But in the Farmers Field Day in intermediary schools, the students, of course, trained by their teachers, are the ones who speak about the practices that they employed in their rice fields. And of course, cognizant of the fact that the parents are sometimes, the parents do not want their children to be engaged in agriculture, and their parents would like to push their children away from agriculture. So what we did massive engagement with parents to explain to them what we were doing, what climate smart agriculture is all about, what we want to do, what the potential outcomes of the initiative to them, so we can rally for their support in this initiative. So evidence of outcomes. 94% of the students that we surveyed reported that they served as intermediaries. That means they search information for the parents, or they share the information that they know to other farmers in the rice farming communities. Teachers promoting the campaign in their respective areas. PTA stands for Parents Teachers Association. All public schools in the Philippines have a PTA, Parents and Teachers Association, parents of PTA meetings, other training of teachers and field days, and more than 100 teachers have integrated lessons from their training into their curriculum. So it serves as more of a extra legs for the Department of Agriculture at no cost to the DA, because it was the teachers that were trained were the ones who were already conveying the information to the farmers in their respective communities. And of course, farmers asking for seeds, thereby increasing the use of certified seeds. The use of certified seeds in the Philippines, it promises yield augmentation of 10% if compared with the usual seeds that are being used by farmers. And of course, more students champions, such as decreased pesticide use in Bulacan. We've documented a number of instances of adoption of different climate smart rice agriculture technologies in the Institute. And yes, adopted technologies such as the leaf color chart, which guides farmers in terms of applying nitrogen or urea in their fields, and the use of certified seeds. This one is my favorite slide. So basically what it says is the level of what this shows basically is the level of sharing that transpired. So from the teachers shared to the students shared the information to his or her parents, and then the parents share the information to other farmers. So it's like up to the third order of sharing, and yet the investment is just on the students to be intermediaries. So this one is okay. So I'd like to show you how the campaign, the intermediaries, impacted or influenced the information seeking behavior of farmers in the area. So this is a graph, the SMS activity of intermediaries in Aurora and Sultan Kudarat. These are two provinces in the Philippines. So you would note that it peaked sometime in August or September. That's understandable because that was the time when the campaign was being conducted in these schools. As you noticed here, and of course, the SMS activity wanes after the campaign when the campaign ended. But if you would note in this graph, the SMS activity of farmers in Aurora and Sultan Kudarat, it became stable. So we got the baseline information of the SMS activities of farmers, and at some point it stabilizes. They tended to seek information more after the engagement of students as intermediaries in these two schools. And here, this is a study that we conducted published in 2019. It employed a number of qualitative approaches, and we tried to, participant observation, and we tracked the students that received SMSs from the Rice Crop Manager. It's an ICT enabled nutrient management platform. And what you can see here is the seamless sharing of information from the students. All right. Oops. Sorry about that. All right. So I'm almost finished anyway. So this is the framework of infomediation on climate change ready rice production technologies. How it works basically is from PhilRice, which is the source of knowledge. Then the information gets shared to the teachers. And then in between PhilRice and the teachers, there are three actions that transpire. That's to discuss, to interact, and empower the teachers. And the same actions transpire from the teachers to the students. From the students to the tech center agents, they may ask questions and they may interact with the tech center agent. The tech center agent at PhilRice, these are registered agriculturists. These are agriculturists. And then the farmer, and the information goes to the farmers. The teachers may also go directly to the farmers, because the teachers that were engaged in the campaign, they have this a number of outreach programs for the farmers, and the students may also go directly to the farmers. There are a number of factors that will influence the effectiveness of teachers as intermediaries. These are their major fields of specialization, their overall interests, because not all teachers are inclined in agriculture stuff, and of course the agri-environment in the area. As regards and of course the teaching load and the personal views in agriculture, because some have very different views as regards to science of agriculture. When all these is done, there are three conditions. The farmers may either dismiss the information, verify the information, or act on it, and that may result to technology adoption or adaptation. But there's also a lot of noise in the environment, such as the presence, for instance, of other groups that push for different forms of knowledge, unsupportive school officials, unsupportive of school officials, and a number of other factors. And of course, knowledge, trust, and empathy. These elements are needed for the infomediation efforts to be successful. And through the intermediary campaign, we were able to provide access to information on rice in some of the remotest rice farming communities in the Philippines. This is my favorite photo. This is a photo of one of our sites in Aklan. The students need to take a raft every day just to go to their school. So if this is the setup of agricultural extension, you know how difficult it is to do agricultural extension work. We call this the moral dimension of extension work. At this This is well, I'm almost done. This is a new study that we conducted. It's a literature review. What we're just trying to say here is that the map to your left, basically, these are the areas in the Philippines that have served as research sites in different youth and agriculture, climate smart, etc. Youth and agriculture research studies. While to your right, these are the different areas where there are actual interventions going on. And of course, this does not include projects that claim to be nationwide in coverage. What we can say here is that Mindanao seems to be the favored site for both research and practical interventions. And this is a challenge to many researchers because there are many areas in the countries, in our country, that have not yet experienced having youth, focused youth and agriculture initiative. Key takeaways: young people can effectively perform the roles as intermediaries. The intermediary strategy is an effective way of reaching out to farmers in remote communities, and having mechanisms to reinforce the intermediaries is vital to the success of this campaign. And info mediation in relation to technology adoption or adaptation is complex but very fulfilling, and many parts of the country have yet to experience youth and agri initiatives. I know I don't have all the time to talk about these things, but we've written 3 books for this. They are all free for download at PhilRi's website. If you've got problems downloading them, feel free to email me. These are Youth and Agriculture, the Intermediary Campaign in the Philippines, Communicating Climate Change in the Rice Sector, and What is a Climate Change Adaptive School. Thanks very much for this opportunity to share our work.
Thank you, Dr. Manalo, for sharing with us the info mediation framework developed to assist in adoption and adaptation of climate-smart technologies in rice cultivation. I very much noted how much fun the campaign probably was to get the kids to get into planting rice and making sure it is fun for them. So kudos to you, sir, and your team for this initiative. It is interesting to see the transfer of information, to see how the transfer of information was, especially since it started from the students and was later translated to their parents, who are the farmers, which I think was a very unique way to change mindsets on agriculture. So thank you, sir. With that, let us now move on to the open forum. But I would like to share to our speakers and to our audience that in SEARCA, we have the SEARCA Young Forces for Agricultural Innovation, or Y4Agri, which is the banner youth engagement initiative of SEARCA, guided by the principle of by the youth, for the youth, and with the one's youth. Our Y4Agri program aims to nurture young people as partners and leaders for agricultural innovation. We actually have a Facebook page as well, so you can just search Young Forces for Agricultural Innovation to keep updated. Okay, so I will go through the questions now. We just have a few. For Dr. Khin first, we have from Elias Francisco Da Costa Suarez from Timor-Leste. How can we promote our local product to change rice for the principal food for Asians, especially in Timor-Leste, because the population always depend on rice, not on the local products?
Very good question. And I have been receiving these questions a million times because I'm Asian. So anyway, it's a good question because the rice is the staple food. Everybody eat rice, sometimes 3 times a day. In Philippines, the student telling me 5 times a day. In Myanmar, some people eat 5 times a day rice. So this is like a kind of over consumption. So there are a lot of choices around you. So rice versus pulses, a lot of peas and beans. These are very nutrient dense vegetable, nutrient dense food, and affordable. Yeah. So, but the peas and beans consumptions are very low. So when you look at the India, they eat a lot of peas and beans. Then their rice consumption is small. So this is a good example. Another strategy is, of course, we Asian people, we love eating vegetables. We have a rain season, we have a monsoon, we have a summertime, we have a wintertime. Throughout the year, we have a seasonal fruits and vegetables. So all the fruits and vegetables are eatable. The roots, rhizomes and tubers, the stems, the leaves, the flowers. So the whole plants of fruits are eatable. So because when you are, the strategy trying to reduce eating rice amount is eat fruits and vegetables. So put it on your plate, more fruits and vegetable in half of your plate. Start eating not rice. When you are sit down for lunch or breakfast or dinner, start eating fruits and vegetable. So then eating rice. Because of high fiber fruits and vegetables and beans, that feed your stomach full. So that means your rice is there, but the stomach is full. You don't need to eat more rice. So that is the strategy for Asian population, how to decrease your rice consumption and increase fruits and vegetable and processed beans and peas and seeds and nuts. So you can stay with, if you are meat eater, you can eat meat, but always lean meat. So if you are a fish eater, eat fish and seafood. We recommend 2 times, 3 times a week, fish and seafood, very healthy and nutritious. But the way what we are eating today is not right, because we are not eating normal fish, normal pork. Put a lot of condiments like oyster sauce, soy sauce, fish sauce, MSG, artificial flavor, artificial color. Those kinds of things are adding up high calorie and very low nutrient. That's when we did research with the university students and faculty, 99.9% are eating those kind of like ready-made noodles, ready-made coffees and tea mix and those sugary beverages. So that's fill your stomach, but you don't get the nutrient. So that's the malnutrition figure in Global Nutrition Report. Our Asian populations are suffering a lot of anemic and also the chronic diseases, kidney, lungs, and all the hypertension, high blood pressure, diabetes type 1, type 2, and now the kidney problems. All those are related. If you have diabetes, you are risk for the kidneys. If you have a kidneys and diabetes, you have a high blood pressure, then you have a brain. You have the whole bodies are internally connected. So all those are later on, then you will getting suffering from so many things. So that's why the underlying cause starting from cut it down or reduce rice consumption. So you love rice, but the portion size and also the amount and how often, the frequency. If you are eating 5 times, trying to reduce 3 times a day. If you are 3 times, trying to reduce 2 times a day. So that how reduce the frequency and also reduce the amount of rice. You stay eating rice, but trying to reduce a little by a little, change your behavior. So this is the strategy for our Asian people. So love rice, you can stay with rice, but less rice and less quantity, and substitute with fruits and vegetables. So that's because I'm done with many rural farmers, very poor subsistence rural people and farmers. So when we did analysis their nutrition, there are a lot of micronutrient deficiencies. That's why they suffer, because they don't have enough money to go to fancy medicines or very expensive medical doctors. So then they suffer. So the best way to advise them to provide extension education, rural advisory service is look around in the village, what fish are available, what seafoods are available, what fruits and vegetables are available throughout the year, wintertime, summertime, rainy time. So eat always not single item, diverse. All the fruits and vegetables, diverse fruits and vegetables, and not overcook. Always prepare, wash with water thoroughly. Don't add any artificial flavor, color, whatever powders and condiments. Just stick with the natural. In nutritional science, if you are still with as nature as possible, you get maximum nutritional value. So you don't need to eat that much. Even a small portion fill your stomach. So always look for fiber-rich fruits and vegetables, peas and beans, seeds and nuts, all the plant-based. Remember, this is really trying to reduce greenhouse gas emission because of plant-based. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Khin. Actually, that is, I think, a very big challenge right now, especially today. If you go healthy, it's usually expensive. So looking for alternatives is usually a challenge right now. And as Asians, we do know that we love our rice. Okay, my next question is for Dr. Jaime. It's from Tonette from Benguet. how should we convince farmers to make the transition from conventional farming into good agricultural practice or organic agriculture, permaculture, agroecological systems? Although there are already small-scale farmers who initiate, not everyone in the community will do so. Thus, contamination is still continuous and the degradation of biodiversity does not cease. In terms of government interventions, depending on what kind of project they promote, affects farming activities. Example, providing synthetic fertilizers, hybrid seeds, which are not sustainable programs. Have you encountered this in your project, sir?
It's all right. I can respond to that. Thanks very much for the question. I'd like to, the first point that I'd like to say is there's no shortcut. There's no shortcut. You need to go back to how we do things. In community development, for instance, engagement of stakeholders, understanding where they're coming from, because it's not like so you have gap and the other is bad. So it's not like that. It's not a straight. There's no how to say 1:1 correspondence that this one is good, this one is bad. We need to do a lot of systems thinking as regards this issue. Systems thinking requires that we have to engage a number of stakeholders. Stakeholders understand where they're coming from. Why they do not want to use GAP, the good agricultural practices? Why do they still want to push through with their traditional practices? So there's a lot that goes in it, and I guess that we have to be methodical. We have to be methodical when we approach this issue, because it is complex. It is complex, and complexities are better understood and not pushed to the back burner, so to speak. So we need to understand where the farmers are coming from and the other stakeholders as well. It would also pay to understand once we do this a very how to say intensive stakeholder engagement. It is only when we can know how different stakeholders can take part, can do their share in addressing the issue, such as the academe, for instance, the young people, the farmers themselves, and different organizations. Because for all we know, not all farmers subscribe to just one practice. They subscribe to a number of practices. So we might have champions from among their ranks, because as we know in the Philippines, one of the key findings in extension work in the Philippines is that farmers to believe their co-farmers more than the agricultural extension workers or the government. So, at some point we need to use all this information that are available for us to effectively tackle the issue.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Jaime. My next question goes actually for the both of you, since both of you tackled technology. So tech seems to be an important factor in involving the youth, like with the climate change project of Dr. Jaime and as mentioned by Dr. Khin in her presentation. So what is your observation regarding getting support for access to tech like gadgets? Like in the Philippines, this is something that's usually expensive. Or with Dr. Khin, with your other research sites, what's the experience usually when it comes to this? Maybe Dr. Khin first and then Dr. Jaime.
Thank you. So in terms of like in technologies, so both production and also the processing. So for example, like now we have, for example, let's say mangoes. So we have a lot of mangoes in Philippines. So we went to do like $1 mango to $10 mango. How do we make a value-added product? We need a technology, a good technology. So make an investment in a technology to process all the safety standard, nutrition quality. So these are good high value added product. So for that sense, we need a technology. But in terms of production side, either organic farming, good agricultural practices, or like for the fishery, good aquaculture practices, for the fishing technologies, and there are so many in line with the protecting biodiversity and also those are planet. So that's always, we when we are talking about the ecosystem, we can really focus on only the profit is money. So we have always looking for the human profit. If people are getting organic food or good agricultural practice food, good aquaculture practice fishery product, so people get more healthy. The more healthy, they have a more potential to maximize potential to work or for any. So they have a more capacity and capability. And also they don't need to spend money for the medication. So that kind of another kind of invisible profit. So when we do analysis in economic theory, we have a visible profit, invisible profit, using technology for crop productions or fishery production, and also for the processing for fishery, agriculture, livestock, other products. And how can we really consistent with the ecosystems? Yeah, not only for the profit outcome money, also for the other profit, invisible profit need to be calculated, need to be included. So that's why people who are transforming or changing from conventional agriculture, or the question to the farming systems. So when you look at that, it is not easy. So it is not easy. It is not difficult either. So that means not easy and also not difficult. Also, these farm practice behaviors. When we started getting high yield, getting not nutritional quality, if we don't want to lose our nutritional quality from getting more high yield, I showed the graph according to the data showing that. So getting more like advanced technology is a very good option for our farming system, because of the labors are so expensive today. In the production cost, labors are so expensive. So that's why getting quality, and of course the other one is a good quality seed, and you need a technology as well. So you need a good modernized technology for every single practices for food productions and food processing, and even for consumptions. How do you prepare your food? How do you cook your vegetable? Steam, stir fry, or cook with or grill or anything. So how do you know about nutritional value you are gaining or you are losing in terms of your cooking technique, cooking method? So that's why I would say technology is very important, very systematic technology for starting from the beginning, production, processing, all the way to consumption, and also food waste management. So technology is very key. So I would say, because we are today focused on our youth, so youth are very good in technology. You are very eager to learn about new technologies.
Thank you, Dr. Khin. Dr. Jaime?
Yes. Yes, of course, the importance of technology is well documented. There's tons of literature that will support the importance of technology. In fact, they call it the e-everything decade, the e-everything century. But I'd like to add that we do not end in giving access to technology, people access to technology, because providing access is one, but the technology, we might be, if we heavily depend on the technology, we might be treading the path of technological determinism, which is also not good. What I'm trying to say is technology is good, but there are additional support that's needed. For instance, issues such as ICT anxiety in the Philippines is good. ICT anxiety is the feeling of discomfort when in front of ICTs, of computers. There are people who think that the computer might explode if they press something in it. So they're just, and this is a phenomenon that is true not just among old people but also among young people. We've had studies on this in the Infomediary campaign. Issues such as this should be properly ventilated. They should be addressed. Otherwise, providing access will just widen the digital divide issue. You know what I mean? Because those who know ICTs, those who know how to use ICTs for their advantage, for instance, will really profit much from using ICTs, but also do not, will just be left behind. So there has to be mechanisms to address other issues that are attached to ICT as a big issue when it comes to this. So address the social issues related to ICTs. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Jaime and Dr. Khin. I like that we very much touch that factor, because there's a huge talk about innovation right now and agriculture 4.0, but these issues are often overlooked. So thank you for touching on that. My next question would be, I have one for Dr. Jaime from our colleague from Timor-Leste, alias Francisco de la Costa Suarez. In Timor-Leste, the climate change make a negative effect to the agriculture production because the climate change affect rainy season in Timor-Leste. So how do you think can we increase production for using small quantities of water to elevate our agriculture production? So that in Timor-Leste, the majority is practicing, since in Timor-Leste, majority is practicing organic agriculture. Do you have insights, sir?
Oh, sorry. I'm not an agronomist, but there are a lot of technologies that you can, if water is an issue, if water is an issue, there are a number of technologies that are available now at PhilRice. Feel free to visit our website. Who's that? Alias? Yes,
Yes,
Alias.
alias from
Feel free to
Timor-Leste.
visit our website, the Philippine Rice Research Institute. Also, ERI's website. We have alternate wetting technology, alternate wetting and drying. We call it controlled irrigation, and now they have capillary irrigation, a lot of water management technologies. Sorry, I can't say more, but those websites should be able to point you to some interventions that you may be able to do to address the issues that you mentioned.
All right, thank you, Dr. Jaime. Sir, do you need to leave now? I think you have a
No,
next
it's all right.
engagement.
Let me finish
Okay,
this. Yeah.
sir. Okay, sir. So maybe one last question for Dr. Khin, and then we can close. Ma'am, do you recognize significant differences in engaging the youth in different cultures? I see that you've worked in the US and the West versus Africa, Asia, or like when in Southeast Asia. First among the youth, and then the next would be women, since you also tackled that one in your presentation.
So a very good question, because, as I mentioned before, the youth. So the youth, most of them, we are in dealing with undergraduate students. They are starting from 16, 17, 18, 19. So under 20. So those undergraduate students and senior high school students. 16, 17, something. Some of them are 18 and 19. So that kind of age youth and in Africa, and also, of course, in our Asian regions. So the youth are changing, yes. What are they changing? They are very good in, because of this industrial revolution 4.0, they are very good in technology. They are very good in social media platform, making the group sharing and knowledge platforms, everything. And the downside is they think as a globalization. So what they learn from each other, what's happening around the world. And some of them, in the downside is they take some like a bad behavior. So practicing bad behavior. For example, I've been in 65 countries. So all the developing countries' youth are now consuming more processed foods. For example, sugaring beverages. Coca-Cola, Sprite, so many sugaring beverages are handy, always here and there. So even water. So in the youth in Europe, they drink more healthy water or beer or something. So, okay, water. So in terms of like a ready-made sugary drinks are very cheap, affordable, accessible, even in the rural, remote villages. So in my home country, in Myanmar, so when I went to the whole country, even in small villages, they have all the sugaring beverages, coffee mix and tea mix, all the artificial colors and flavors, all the condiments. So all the youth generations are spending their time for the technology or whatever, playing games, and they don't spend time for making healthy salad, making their own healthy food, going and buying fresh fruits and vegetables. They don't spend their time for that. This is really negative downside for the new generation. That can be, because just eating more and more processed food, which are high in saturated fat, sugar, and sodium, and also foods are very addictive. If you eat one, you want to eat more, you want to drink more, another package. One example is ready-made noodle. That's a ramen noodle. One single portion contains 1,665 milligrams sodium. That's enough for one day. But some people eat 2 packages even one time. That's right. This noodle, ready-made noodle. So imagine all the young generation, sodium consumptions are huge, more than 3 times, 4 times, 5 times per day. So their body, the system are really break it down, because no nutrition, just sodium, and also no nutrition, just sugar, no nutrition, just saturated fat, all those bakery stuff, and they enjoy it. So that is all the young generation today. Is a good thing is they are very good in technology. They are good to learn, easy to learn, communicating around the world, just one touch. They are like connecting with the global people. But the learning using the technology, the global connection, not systematically, effectively, and right way, learn scientific papers, learn the science or arts or whatever, everything, anything for the professional skill development, 21st century skill, what they need today for their future. They will be the future leaders of each country or maybe of the world. But this is the perfect time to learn for the youth. So the youth, what we mentioned, 10 to 25 years old, 10 years to 25 years old, that range of youth, that is perfect timing, not for playing games, using iPhone, mobile phone to learn about whatever science, whatever technology, whatever literature, whatever language, whatever religious, whatever something. So, but the majorities are not using systematically like this way, playing games, spending a lot of time or sitting. That's why they are physically, they are not healthy. They are not strong enough, too thin or too fat. Look at the youth. They are too thin or too fat, not strongly fit, physically fit. Go to the field and do the research for 10 hours. No one. I don't see any undergraduate student. Or they're too thin or too fat. They are not in the right way, strong physically, not strong mentally. If you are strong physically, not strong, then mentally doesn't work. How can they study scientifically all the subject, all the futures, all the everything? How can be really resistant to study for their future? So that's why I would say in nutrition perspective, all the agriculture students, all the young generation, high school student, even middle school student, 10 years old, all the way to undergrad, 25 years, this age, they really need to physically strong. The most important is eat healthy. What limited? If you have a limited income, look for this income what you can get for diet diverse food for healthy choice. Don't go for ready-made noodles or ready-made tea mix or coffee mix or sugary and beverages. That is you are buying chronic diseases. You are buying chronic, lay down on sauna, you will get suffering from all the inner organs. Then your body is breaking down and you can study anything. If you are physically is not strong enough, mentally is sick, you cannot be a leader of an organization. You can't be a leader of the country. Your decisions are totally wrong. You cannot make a right decision, right thinking, right innovation, because you are mentally sick. Because you are physically sick, then mentally automatically sick. So that's why I would say, so for the woman, exactly the same. I would say the woman, we are women. When I travel around the world, the women in Africa, we met them. So they have a lack of access to, compared to Asia, they have a lack of access, less access to fruits and vegetables in Africa. But they are now trying to eat more fruits and vegetables. And also they are also stay away from processed sugary beverages and saturated fat bakery stuff. So now our Asian, look at the global nutrition, African and Asia, our Asian nutrition is now going down. High blood pressure, hypertension, diabetes, anemic, under 5 standing, wasting, obesity, overweight, underweight, everything are now Africa is better than Asia population. Because the outcome is showing that because of eating behavior. When you look at the 5 years different database, now 2020, the last 5 years, how our Asian populations are eating not right. That's why the outcome is now showing how they are sick, how they are mentally sick, they are physically sick. So that's why I'm so worried about our youth. They are very young. They want to be the rest of their life to study more, to learn more, to enjoy their life, to better improve their life. They need to be healthy. To be healthy, they need to eat proper diet, daily exercise.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Khin. So that sums up our open forum. We have a few more questions lined up, but in the interest of time, we will be sending your comments and questions to our speakers for them to answer, and we will share to them via email to those who ask the questions. So thank you, Dr. Cho and Dr. Manalo, for that very insightful discussion on the opportunities that the youth can take to grow and explore to contribute to the agri-food system. So I hope our session this morning has sparked inspiration to my fellow youth to take action and become drivers of change by first becoming very healthy, as per Dr. Khin. I once again take this opportunity to invite our viewers to like our Young Forces for Agricultural Innovation Facebook page to keep updated of SEARCA's Youth for Agri program activities. So before we close this webinar, just some a request for some quick closing or takeaway message from both our speakers, Dr. Jaime first and then Dr. Khin.
I'll make this short. the youth, the engagement of young people is complex. It has to be better problematized. It has always been argued that young people no longer want to contribute when we talk of, agricultural production, or they're naive or whatever. But there's a lot. There are a number of elements in the social system that actually prevent their participation from fully participating in this initiative. So it has to be better problematized. We need supportive infrastructure. We need supportive policies in order for us to fully harness the potentials of the youth in building climate smart communities.
Thank you, Dr. Jaime. Dr. Khin?
So I would like to say one simple message, that is, for our future, a better future, we need a healthier and happier new generation. So as I mentioned, physically and mentally healthier and happier, our new generation. When we talk about come with the food and nutrition just for agriculture, no. So that the way what I in my presentation, we went all medical undergraduate, young medical doctors, all the engineers, the lawyers, and everyone, not only agriculture, crop scientists, and nutrition. We need the youth from all different professional background, professional schools or professional trainees and professional field, because according to One Health approach, not stand alone. So all the youth from different sectors and different perspectives, they can be as like a youth forum, like a youth summit, and sharing about their food systems. The food system who are involved is production people, the consumer people, and also all the agribusiness people. So all the youth can take the lead in the future, all the production, all the crops, agriculture, livestock, fishery, all the production, and also all the business, agribusiness, crop business people, and also for the government policy makers, and also for the academians, research and scientists. For those, all the youth need to be ready. Now is perfect time for our youth and young generation to get ready for the future better.
All right, thank you, Dr. Khin. So on behalf of SEARCA, led by our director, Dr. Glenn Gregorio, we would like to express our sincere gratitude to Dr. Khin Marcho and Dr. Jaime A. Manalo IV for taking the time to join us today. It has been a pleasure to have you with us this morning or this evening for Dr. Khin. That ends our webinar, but before we close, please let us know what you think about today's Solve webinar by following the link to a quick feedback form to be shown on your screen. This will also be posted in the chat box of our Facebook live stream of this webinar. The same link will redirect you to the request form for the e-certificate. Your feedback will help us improve our online learning events. Please note that we will only accommodate requests for e-certificates within 24 hours after the end of this webinar. Kindly wait for your e-certificate to be issued at least within a month, as we receive a lot of requests for e-certificates. Thank you for your understanding and patience. Please join us again for our next online conversation on June 20 at 10 o'clock in the morning. Our topic will be about food and nutrition security. Please don't miss it. Let us help one another get through this COVID-19 pandemic. We hope that as we go along, we will be able to create a community of better, bigger, and smarter farmers and farming communities. Once again, this is Jean Labios for SEARCA. Have a good day, stay healthy, stay safe, and goodbye, everyone.